So it's like every day of the teacher. If you want to die, it just means you're alive. Yeah. No, I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. I'm just saying, it's just like your basically what you're dealing with on the daily. When it's the 1st of September, back to school again. Alright. 10 years later we meet again. Hello school. Okay. Teacher's life. 120 tests to check. Yo. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's okay. Tomorrow I'll get some more. Oh, my lovely weekend. I'm going to have a lovely weekend. School is actually a trap. Because only people who used to be good students, they go to work in a school. And they think that I was a good student and I expect that everybody is the same. And they think I will manage to do it. I will do it. I will do it better than anybody else. And then you start and they fucking shout. And you cannot control their discipline. And you have all the problems that you have seen in your nightmares, in your worst nightmares, something like this. And this is what you deal with on the daily. Yeah, and you just learn how to overcome those difficulties, how to... Oh, I've got a lovely neighborhood here. Yeah, and you just learn how to deal with that and make them work through all of these obstacles. And it never works the other way. You will get more experienced with time, but you can never get rid of those, discipline problems and issues and so on. And I guess it's normal, and I guess not many teachers speak about it, because I used to think that it's a sign of not professionalism, but it's just a sign of that you're a teacher. I guess it's just maybe natural, and I'm learning to overcome those problems and make them study, make them do what I want them to do, despite all of the problems we deal with. I guess it's normal. Tell me, is it? I guess it's like that. Yeah, you just never know before you start. Okay. Yoo-hoo, the day's over. Okay, on a Friday, I want to give you a little bit of background on Russian history and on history of school education. Yeah, and I do look like a typical teacher today. Okay, so all the types of houses that were built back in the 70s when, well, I'll start from the revolution actually. So, October Revolution in Russia in 1917 was meant to make the working class equal to the high class. And the early Soviet times, they were actually succeeding in achieving that. And so, the power came into the hands after the revolution. The power came into the hands of the working class revolutionaries. So at first everything was going fine, and working class people, they started to live their life at probably higher standards. There were a lot of people unsatisfied with the new regime, though, from what I know, from what I remember from the school history course. It's just my general understanding of the situation at that time that was happening. But a lot of the private businesses, previously run by bigger business owners who were usually of the noble class, all these factories, they were turned into state factories. yeah, at first state was kind of doing more or less fine. They had plans how to boost their economic growth, stuff like that. But guess what happens when there is no private property and people are motivated by nothing but a stick to work? Yeah. Of course, people are not motivated by just the idea. People are motivated by their own personal earnings, and of course people were demotivated, and by around the 70s, that's what they started. And that's what happened with the standard of housing in the country, and they basically the entire population grew not upwards to be higher class, working class turning into upper class, but the opposite process happened. Actually, the upper class that was destructuralized, it turned into lower class, so into the working class, and the entire society, Russian society, was turned into the endless working class and poverty. The majority of people got that poor that everybody was living in places like this, and the school was the only place for enlightenment and education for the children. And that's when actually they put so many responsibilities on the teacher, because the teacher was sort of the high class job, and the person who could educate their children from poor families, because the majority of people were working class, poor working class, so to say. Okay, what has happened since then? The situation in this society has changed dramatically. Private property has returned because the Soviet Union broke up, and there are a lot of business owners these days and a lot of businesses, so people are living much better. But on the teachers there is still the same responsibility of sort of enlightening and doing some upbringing to the children, and I don't really understand why we still have to do it, because the society has changed itself. There are no more functions that I'm waiting for the marshrutka, by the way, to get to work. Yeah. So, and there is no need to perform these functions for the teacher anymore, because the families are now doing that fine, do these things by themselves. Also, I want to speak about the pay of the Russian teacher at the moment. The only two cities where the pay is competitive for any job that you talk about is Moscow and St. Petersburg. In all the regions, so-called Russian regions, the pay is ridiculous. And for example, the pay for the teacher, like let's say me, I'm just doing it as an experiment. I am a professional teacher, but I started my work as a teacher in a Sochi school just as sort of an experiment to see how truthful some ideas I heard about the pay and the working conditions are. And actually the pay is about, I've got to take the bus actually, this real marshrutka. Alright, so, yeah, my salary as a teacher for 6 lessons a day, 5 days a week is about 30,000 rubles, which would be $500. I'm not kidding. That's the salaries in Russian regions for the professional workers with a degree. I have a degree from a philological faculty in St. Petersburg. I will boast about that one maybe later or in another video. So what I want to say is that I counted, and basically 1 hour of my work as a professional school teacher in a school where like basically in any school in Sochi or in any other region, would cost $3 according to the current exchange rate, dollar to ruble. $3.57 exactly. $3.57 for 1 hour of my professional work as a teacher. While I charge my private students as a professional teacher, I'm also working by Skype and I have my little business. I charge my students for the professional service $12.85. The difference is dramatic. Out here for a coffee. What would the service do you think a teacher can provide for $3.57 an hour? Would you like to do anything really professional for this money? And if they also require to look after the kids, to do something extra except for what you're already doing, teaching classes, would you do that for $3.57 an hour? And if you do some extra work, it does not pay extra. It does not make any sense to me to pay in Russia. So what quality of education do you expect to get? I don't really know. Also about the working conditions, you can imagine that working conditions are far from comfortable, far from perfect, far from whatever they think in the government they are making for the workers they are providing. They are all far from the working conditions in bigger companies. Why am I doing it? Because I can. Because I'm providing for myself, doing my private teaching, and school is just an experiment. I'm kind of in a hurry. I have to hurry up. Hey, hurry up. Otherwise, if not that $12 per hour for my private lessons, I wouldn't be able to afford nothing. Also, I wouldn't tell you about difficult kids, discipline-wise, but I will tell you a little later. You might be wondering how many hours I'm working these days. I'm working 9 to 12 hours. 9 to 12 hours just to be able to finance this experiment of mine. But I've got a lot of experience, so this is not a very big problem, and I'm always prepared for lessons. So I'm sort of a workaholic when it comes to doing something that I like, so it's not a big deal. I don't want to say that standards of education are any lower than in any other countries here in Russia, though. But you know, the salaries and the way out from the situation would be probably to show them as much attention as you possibly can, because they do not misbehave because they like to misbehave. They misbehave because they are lacking teachers' attention, because probably they know a lot and they are not asked, or they want to be asked and want to answer, but they don't get the attention that they want, and they start to misbehave to, you know, just to attract that attention. And I found out that if you involve them in the lesson, yeah, it gets so much better, because first they are working and not misbehaving, and as a result they are working. The entire class is working better because they are quieter than usual, something like that. So, and everybody's happy, you know. The class is happy because they are working. These misbehaving guys are happy because they are working and they get the attention, and not the punishment all the time. Not being told off all the time, you know, but just working. Yeah, and the teacher is happy because, well, everybody's working. Okay, but still, it's a little bit of an exaggeration because it's very difficult to make these little guys, all of them, work the way you want them to. But there's nothing impossible, it's just very difficult. But I'm pretty happy with the result so far. Like, more or less, you cannot be happy when it's not, perfect. But still, there are no dramatic problems with the discipline if you involve everybody in the class. So, kind of, it's okay. That's the work of the teacher. It's never a dull day, never a dull minute, In this work, you're always dealing with challenges. That's why it's an interesting job as well. Yeah. Gotta take a bus or marshrutka back home. And it's a Friday night and I'm planning to go out afterwards. I just need to this all home and myself home basically, so just to change and go out. You know why you'll never see teachers sitting with a laptop like this in any coffee shop? Guess why? It's because I actually have a break of about 2 hours, which I don't normally have. And that's why I was hungry, because teachers usually in Russia, they have about 15 minutes to eat. And I was like, I need to eat something, so I had some food with me, and I also wanted to get something else because I was feeling hungry and had 2 hours, so I went out to the local coffee shop for a coffee, and now I still have around 35 minutes. So I decided to show you the normal office worker sitting somewhere, kind of working. You'll never see a teacher spending their time like this, just because there is no free time to spend somewhere in a cafe listening to some lovely music. There is no freaking time. You are teaching lessons, and you have about 10 or 15 minutes between the lessons to get prepared for the next one. And actually, it takes also time. You see how many printables I have here, and it takes also time to get prepared for lessons. So I basically have my plans for each class, and now wait, it's just a little bit not too good looking because I was doing it just like a lesson plan for myself, step by step what we are going to do, and some list of words. But you see, it's like a draft of the lesson, because I used to be planning a lot back when I was just learning to be teaching. Yes, and so now this is much enough for me for the class. So to get prepared for the class, I basically make a little plan for myself. Yeah, and it's just like a whirlwind of work. Once you start your day as a teacher, you don't have time for nothing. It's great if you have time to grab some lunch quickly in 10 minutes that you have, I don't know, sandwich and some tea or coffee or whatever. Just today I had some free time, to go out here to the coffee shop and never ever basically see this. It simply is not for a teacher. Don't have time for this. It's a very difficult job, and it's a very responsible one, and you shouldn't treat people who you see somewhere out in offices working on the fancy computers, or people sitting out in cafeterias pretending they are working, acting all busy and stuff, really doing some important job, because people who do really important work, they don't have any freaking time to be sitting in cafes listening to music and pretending they are working. They are freaking working their ass off. That's what basically teachers do in the workday. Appearances can be deceptive. Okay, time to walk. Get back to work. Okay, I've got like half an hour, and it's 5 minutes to or the printing shop that I use from time to time in the morning when I need to make some printouts, because I don't like to use the printer at work, and I just use the photocopier there. I usually take that road, but today I'm taking this one because I just have some time. Okay, I have a question. Has anyone ever held a seminar on how to deal with stress at work? If you're a professional teacher, what you're dealing with is that sometimes you just lose control of the class, and that's what at least I deal with sometimes. And what do teachers normally do? So teachers tend to raise the voice and even sometimes go extreme and call students names, something like this. And we have all been there, I believe. And nobody ever talks about it. What do we do in this situation? I believe what has to be done is just probably forget that we have the goals in the lesson and that we actually have to teach them something. And just leave them. Try to just calm down and talk to them. It's extremely difficult sometimes, and I miserably fail at that. At just calming down and talking to them and just realizing that you are the person that is in control for the lesson. And we actually are. And it seems to me that with the modern kids, if you raise your voice, they stop looking at you as a teacher, something like this, and they just take defense. And the way out of here is maybe just to get on their side, talk, maybe some friendly talk with them, I suppose. And try to make them understand what you want from them in the lesson. Yeah, maybe that's what a modern teacher is supposed to do. Yeah, but I still haven't mastered this skill yet. That's why I'm saying this. It's nobody usually talks about it. So let us see if that works. But I suppose that it's just the majority of teachers should do this so that kids understood. You know, if you're working with a big classroom of about 40 students, it's very difficult to be calm and quiet. And sometimes when you face with sort of, when they start to chat and to do some things that, oh no, they are not supposed to be doing, you freak out and you feel like it's some disrespect towards you probably, and that's you get in this defensive position and start to raise your voice. How to not do this? Yeah, I don't know. There have to be some seminars, on how to deal with these problems with discipline for teachers. Nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about it, and it's a big question. It's the problem that every teacher working in a big classroom faces with. I don't know. At least I do face with it. But I'm pretty happy with the results so far. Yes, so the results beat the discipline problems, but still there is no, in some classes there is no comfort that I would like to have. I don't have a lesson plan, it all gets screwed up. It's just impossible to teach quality lessons without a very well thought out lesson plan. It just all gets, just like complete madness of nothing. A quality lesson is always very thoroughly planned. You are planning what you do with your students in each particular lesson, and you must have a lesson goal, an objective for the lesson. So I always plan my lessons. If I don't have a plan, then I feel lost, and the lesson gets really, like, I don't know, it's not really screwed, but it gets a little random. It can go, sideways, just where you don't want the lesson to go, actually. And that's why planning is step number 1 for a good lesson. Each lesson. First we start with a warm-up, some revision of something that they did in the lesson before, or 2 lessons ago, or 3 lessons ago, depends on how well they know the material. My students don't remember anything, so we do revision every time, and we'll do it many more times until they remember. Yeah. So and then we just do a little bit of new material explanation and practice everything according to lesson plans that we have discussed previously.
Я сразу же подумал.